forget to take that back.
Today I'm going to explain how to handle Ice Demon in Challenge Mode Chambers. Conceptually, it's a pretty simple room, but there's a couple things you can focus on to help get faster Ice Demon times. This video will be designated to 5-man teams in regards to kindling count and the handling of lighting. However, some of these methods can be applied for all skills. So, let's start off with getting a chest. Once the crab room is done, everyone should be killing scavenger beasts for planks. As you're killing them, try to make your way over to the tinderbox and drop 3 potions next to it. Now, if you have an overload and you want prep, do not drop your overload and instead drop 3 other items, potions that you don't mind dropping. Continue killing scavs until planks are called. Now, in the scenario that you end up getting planks instantly, drop your pots wherever you are standing and grab the planks. Don't worry about repositioning your potions. Having your pots away from the tinderbox might make you a bit late for when ice pops if you're not prep, but that should be fine. Now, once you've dropped your pots, you can pull up to nearby scavengers when you mage them, as this will reduce the time for your projectile to reach them, and if you're right next to it, it should keep the scavenger in place, since if it dies and it moves, it'll take an extra 0.6 seconds for the death animation to occur. With that out of the way, now we can start going over what to do after you get planks. If you aren't prep and you get planks, grab the 2 planks, an axe, and make the chest. Your tinderbox is handled by other people on the team. Ideally, you have 2 people on your team ready to grab a backup tinderbox, since you never know when the main person who does that job will get planks. Everyone else just grabs 1 tinderbox and an axe. Here's a small thing that can speed up getting off the chest. Once you grab your axe, you can equip it, and you can drop your tinderbox near the chest. If you have an overload on you, you can drop it near the chest as well. What this does is you can hit the deposit all button and start chopping instantly. If you're prepping and you get the planks, skip out and grabbing an axe, then build the chest. Before heading back, bank the items you don't need for the next few combat rooms, such as your salve, pickaxe, rapier, and water runes. You can grab your axe on the way back to scavengers, as banking your items allows you to have space to grab your potions and an axe. If you're a prep and you don't get planks, sip your overload and stamina. Then drop all your potions by the tinderbox and drop whatever lockpicks you get. Try to get at least 4 unless it makes you super late to ice. The main focus is getting the amount of secondaries you need to make potions for the team. Revitalization and overload can be grabbed by anyone who isn't prep. Everyone should try to grab at least 1 lockpick as well if you manage to get enough for the team. The reason for this is since as prep, you'll only have space for a couple of things, usually your personal potions and secondaries, hence you rely on your team to grab stuff at the tinderbox as well as grabbing your axe post brazier lighting. Now let's go over chopping procedure. At level 96 woodcutting, you'll be getting the maximum kindling out of chopping the trees, which is a range of 1 to 8 kindling per chop. So get some levels if you're not 96 already, as it's potentially a time save. Once chest is made, the chopping procedure begins. You want to cut 18 kindling at a minimum. There's one really important thing to note before I go into more detail about lighting the braziers, and that is the chop cycle. Once you begin chopping any of the trees with an axe, you get put in a 5-tick cycle, which means that you can do actions in between chops, such as eating sweets, picking up items, and you'll still get your chop. All that matters is you make sure you're on the tree on the chop tick. Otherwise, you'll get no kindling and be put back at the start of the chop cycle. As you can see here, I use the time of my chop to grab a tinderbox. So to make it easy, wait for the XP drop, as this gives you the most time before your next chop tick, and then you can grab your tinderbox after said XP drop. You can start moving to a nearby tree after the first chop, which has less people, as this will decrease the odds of trees dying, which can push back getting people to 18 kindling. Just remember, once you start getting closer to 18 kindling, in between your chops, start moving back to trees which are closest to the brazier. Early on, when you're chopping, if you also equip your axe, once you start chopping, you can unequip it and move it to the bottom of your inventory. This will allow you to withdraw your gear without it screwing up its original layout, and then you can bank your axe all in one go. Once you hit 18 or close to 18 kindling, do one more chop, since if people end up being late on lighting, there's a chance that braziers might die out, getting unlucky on chops, for example. So doing the extra chop is a fail-safe for people with low woodcutting or just bad RNG on chops. However, if you're the last person to light, you don't have to worry about doing an extra chop. So dump your kindling once you get 18 instead of doing an extra chop. Last thing to note, for consistency, tell your team ahead of time which brazier you plan to light in your first raid with people. From that point forward, light the same brazier every raid. This just makes it less likely for people to light the same one, which can be quite detrimental. Once you've lit a brazier, you want to follow a 4-step procedure. Firstly, drop your tinderbox, withdraw all your gear, and deposit your axe. Then, bank the unnecessary items. You can bank your rapier, salve, pickaxe, and your BGS. Secondly, Pick up an overload, sip it, then drop it. Usually a 4-dose overload should be dropped by the chest by one of your team members. Third, run back to your potions and grab a lockpick or two, as well as any potions that might be at the tinderbox. Usually an overload or revive are left at the tinderbox and people should have space to grab. If the prepper still needs an axe, one person gets it on their way back to Ice Demon and banks it in public. Now the last thing you should do, which is step number 4, is to prepare to spec Ice Demon. You can bank a lockpick in your private storage. If you grab the overload or revitalization potions at the tinderbox, drop them by the Ice Demon chest. I also personally like to have someone carry the overload in case someone dies, and it can be redropped for them when they're either running back to shamans or they relock for vanguards. Now, for spiking Ice Demon, you want to use your hammer. Do not BGS. Stack right next to him on the chest side and hammer spec. If you are Venge, you stay next to him until the Venge procs, then run away and begin surging or T-bowing. You can also revenge yourself as well and take more hits on prayer. But if you are low on HP or brew, you can choose not to proc Venges. Just remember that ice can also hit over 30 damage for your prayer. Now, if you end up being late to ice and 2 specs have already landed, start attacking with your Twisted Bow / Fire Surge instead of spending a spec. This just means you have another claw spec for vanguards. If only 1 spec lands, but ice is around 50%, you can also choose to hold your spec. Also, try to bank items in between your attacks if your Rive and Ice Demon is still alive. If he's dead by the time you are there, then bank your items, then head into Shamans. Continue to do the room as normal. However, once Ice Demon's HP dips to about 25%, pull up next to it while attacking. This will in turn reduce the amount of time it takes for your projectile to travel to it. For Twisted Bow, you can be 1 tile off, but for Fire Surge, you need to be adjacent to Ice Demon, or it'll be a tick late getting to him. Once the Ice Demon is dead, pull away and head to the exit. And please, make sure to not run early to the exit while he is still alive, as this will chance ice throwing a final fuck you boulder that will either kill or lower your team's HP.
It really is.
And that's it for the guide. Please let me know if anything needs clarification in the comments, as this is my first time making a guide such as this. I'll probably pin a message with some FAQs based on what I end up reading. Thank you all for watching, and I wish you the best of luck getting some sub 23 times.